Okay, so I'm going to show you how to use these awesome gingerbread cutters that have been 3D printed to make a gingerbread train. So the alternatives to using cookie cutters are pretty grim. If you didn't have cutters, what you would do, you would have a pattern, all these little pieces, and you would have to use a knife or a pizza cutter to meticulously cut around each piece. And it works pretty good with square pieces, and you could probably get through it, but it's so much quicker and easier to have a uniform cutter so that all of your pieces end up looking the same. So the first thing you do is you take a Silpat mat or a silicone mat. You can also use parchment paper or tin foil, but they don't really compare to having a Silpat mat. And you have some gingerbread cookie dough that you've made. It's quite firm. And that's one of the benefits of having the cutters, is because once you have the dough rolled out, it's not easy to roll. And you want to get as much out of your sheet of gingerbread as possible. So I like to kind of square it up a little bit. Put a little bit of flour on top. And we're going to roll it out to be about 1/4 inch thick or thinner. The thicker the gingerbread is when you bake it, the puffier it gets. And the idea when you're making gingerbread structures is to have them go together perfectly and not have big puffy edges after they bake. So do it thinner than thicker. If your dough has too much butter in it, or if it's too soft, it will spread when it bakes. So you want to make sure it's just the right consistency. So the first thing you do after you have your gingerbread cookie dough all rolled out is you're going to place the cutters where you want the finished cookie to go. We don't want to have to move the cookie after it's been cut because it warps the shape. You want it to just stay right on the mat for baking. And so just go ahead and space them out about 1 inch in between each one. I'm going to come back and show you a trick for the sides of these cars that you'll need for the very best result. So we have a cattle guard here. We've got a couple of wheels. Just kind of decide where is best. They don't spread a lot. It depends on how much flour you have in your dough. You don't want them to touch. There's a couple of wheels. So quick and easy. If you were to cut this out by hand, it's a headache. So you want to go ahead and, without moving the cut pieces, you just remove the extra dough from around your shapes. Just pull it off, and you can mold that back together and re-roll it. I like to add a little bit of new dough with the old dough so that it keeps a uniform texture as you go throughout the batch. Okay? And what you want to do with this is we want this to be reversed so that when it's baked, it will have a nice baked edge. So just as one piece, we're going to flip it over. We're trying not to warp it too much. And then that way we'll have, when it's in a train, it'll have the nice, clean baked edges on both sides. So you go ahead and you take your whole sheet or your tin foil or whatever it is that you baked it on. Move this out of the way. And we're going to just lift up the entire sheet like this and place it on your cookie sheet. And it's ready to go into the oven. I like to bake them at 375 for anywhere between 12 and 15 minutes, depending how large the pieces are. These smaller ones will probably only take, 8 to 10. And it's okay if they get a little brown. You want to make sure that the pieces are not soft. This isn't gingerbread man. You want them to be nice and solid and crisp, so when you put them together, they don't sag and lose their shape.